Topping today's news, FTX liquidators agree to move bankruptcy proceedings from New York to a Delaware court. Government ministers respond to questions related to the FTX debacle and the Goldwynn condo resort at Cable Beach set to open in about 2 months. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. As the FTX digital markets saga continues, joint provisional liquidators who were appointed by the Bahamas Supreme Court for FDM have agreed to transfer to a Delaware bankruptcy court the FTX Chapter 15 bankruptcy petition, which was filed in New York, according to international online media CoinDesk. Court documents indicate that FTX Trading Limited filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the District of Delaware on November 11th. Bahamian provisional liquidators later filed a Chapter 15 suit in the Southern District of New York, which applies to cross-border insolvency in relation to the Bahamian subsidiary FTX Digital Markets. During first-day motions in court on Tuesday in Wilmington, Delaware, James Bromley, partner with Sullivan and Cromwell, the law firm there, hired by FTX debt holders, said that FTX spent around $300 million buying houses in the Bahamas for senior executives. He also claimed that substantial amounts of FTX's assets is either missing or stolen, calling FTX the personal fiefdom of co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried. According to court documents, the cryptocurrency exchange owes creditors $3.1 billion. FTX has reportedly claimed in filings that it has between $10 billion and $50 billion in estimated liabilities and assets. The Securities Commission took action when the once cryptocurrency giant collapsed, freezing the company's and other related parties' assets. It was revealed that the former CEO and founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, and other company associates of the fallen cryptocurrency exchange giant FTX spent more than $130 million on real estate here in the Bahamas. That number may possibly be higher, as U.S. court filings indicate that up to $300 million in property was purchased. Now, outside the House of Assembly, just before a session where tributes to women were given in celebration of the 60th anniversary of the women's suffrage movement, members of the Davis administration were asked if anyone connected to the Bahamian government had any direct investment into or from FTX. A search of the Registrar General's office records indicate that FTX property holdings purchased 18 properties in the affluent area of Albany for an approximate total of $80.8 million, all carried out by law firm Clement Maynard and Company, with the first sale of Albany property being closed in December of 2020 for $6.75 million. As the fallout of Exchange FTX continues to play out to a global audience, here on Bahamian soil, cabinet ministers as well as other entities and individuals connected to FTX's dealings in the Bahamas have come under heavy fire. In other news, in the financial sector, Standard & Poor's credit ratings for the Bahamas has been reaffirmed at B+ sovereign credit rating with a stable outlook. S&P's report indicating that the Bahamas' economy has seen meaningful improvement over the past 12 to 18 months, and that is due to the performance of the tourism sector, even though it remains below pre-pandemic levels. The expanding economy is supporting government revenues, which increased almost 29% in the most recent fiscal year, while higher employment is shrinking the government's social expenditures. Deficits have fallen to 6% of the GDP in fiscal year 2022 from 13.7% in the fiscal year of 2021, and are expected to fall even further in the current fiscal year, the report says. Standard & Poor's also indicating that it could improve the country's rating in 12 months if the government's financial reforms hasten, even though it also explains that the country's real gross domestic product growth will slow next year to 1.1%. As for the FTX saga, Standard & Poor's says the stable outlook also assumes no material adverse impact on the Bahamas, including to the local banking sector from the recent bankruptcy of FTX Bahamas. The report says it expects continued but decelerating growth in the national debt, with the country's relatively large finance needs being met by the domestic market and multilateral lenders. Ahead of what is expected to be a busy holiday travel period, key stakeholders at the Lynden Pinley International Airport, LPIA, have finalized plans to handle the uptick in the traffic at the country's major gateway. A new cell phone waiting lot was made available to the public as early as Monday, November 21st. That was earlier this week. And a passenger-friendly flight tracking app are among tools being implemented to manage flow from the curbside to the airside. Officials at the Nassau Airport Development Company anticipates between 25,000 and 35,000 passengers being processed through the LPIA from Thursday, November 24th to Sunday, November 27th. As part of the overall preparations for this peak period, Jonathan Hanna, Vice President of Operations for NAD, said they met with key stakeholders, including the Bahamas Immigration Department, Bahamas Customs, Airport Authority, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Air Traffic Services, airline operators, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and the Road Traffic Department, with a view of improving the user experience at LPIA. Those waiting to pick up arriving passengers can park in the cell phone waiting lot for free while waiting in your vehicle up to 60 minutes until the arriving passengers call for your pickup. It is expected that this will reduce congestion on the curbside. Meanwhile, managing gate assignments and predicting traffic patterns on the airside will also play a major role in a successful holiday travel season for the Lynden Pinley International Airport. And finally, in this segment, the multi-million-dollar Goldwynn Hotel and Residence project on Cable Beach is expected to officially open its doors in early 2023. Last week, Prime Minister Philip Davis, Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sears toured the construction site as things are nearing completion. During that visit, John Adams, the property's chief operating officer, shared some history on the Goldwynn branch, which began as a family-owned business in 1994 and now owns approximately $2 billion in property and assets, with the property at Cable Beach being the first luxury boutique property. Mr. Adams tells why the company chose the Bahamas and the Cable Beach location for such a large investment, originally estimated at $120 million.
They wanted to pick a prime location that would make sense, that would really allow the Goldwynn brand to foster its luxury resort and its luxury residences simultaneously, to be a unique property. This property is designed to be reminiscent of the late 60s, early 70s, where in today's market a typical hotel property would be about 15% common area space, and atriums are sort of a thing of the past. Here we've got two gorgeous atriums, both decorated with artwork from local artists here on the island, Keisha Monroe and Angelica Wallace-Whitfield. And we're sit at about 53% common space, so trying to create a totally unique experience for people coming to visit the Bahamas.
In addition to the large common space, Mr. Adam also explained Goldwynn's approach to the property being marketed as both a hotel and a residential location.
That's what makes us very unique. So we're referred to as a condo hotel. So we're 81 keys on the hotel side, meaning we have 81 residential suites. We have studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and some luxurious 3-bedroom suites. And then on the residential side, we have 79 residential suites for owners to live in full-time, to be residents here at in the Bahamas.
According to Mr. Adams, the residential side of the resort is just about sold out, with only a few units left. Meanwhile, the new boutique resort will officially open to the first paying customers on February 1st, 2023, with the majority of those guests coming from states on the east coast of the United States and from Canada. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.